Hey guys, Sneaky Snake here, Brothers in Arms, World of Warships, and today's video is a replay that I had in the Tier 8 Soviet light cruiser, the Chapayev. I'm divisioned up with one of our subscribers, B-Ray. He's in his Tier 8 Japanese heavy cruiser, the Mogami, and my buddy Spider is in his Tier 8 American destroyer, the Benson, and we're playing some domination here on the map, Islands of Ice. So, there are two reasons why I'm showing you guys this replay. One, this is, as of right now, the highest damaging game on the North American server ever in the Tier 8 Chapayev. So obviously the damage total is going to be absolutely through the roof in this game, and it's just going to be pretty sweet. I think you guys will enjoy it. However, the second reason, and probably the more important reason why I want to show you guys this replay, is just to kind of talk about the Soviet light cruisers 6 through 8 tier in general. So the Bajoni at Tier 6, fantastic light cruiser. I have over an 80% win rate with about 30 games played in it. Average damage is really good. Obviously, the win rate is really good. Ships killed in a game, average XP. I just really had a fun time in the Bajoni. And then I got to Tier 7 with the Shores, and the average damage was still up there really high, but the win rate plummeted to below 50%. And as of this video as well, it is the only ship that I've played in World of Warships at least 20 games that I do not have a 50% or greater win rate in. I believe it's like 48%. And while I was still getting the damage and getting the kills and all that stuff, I just could not win a game. And I really didn't feel that I changed too much tactic-wise, but something must have happened matchmaker-wise or player-wise, because the win rate, again, just fell off the face of the earth. And now here with the Chapayev through 11 games, the average damage is also still pretty good, but the win rate is even worse. It's at 45% after 11 games. And I know 11 games is still quite a small sample size, but I have no idea where my win rate went on these 152mm armed Soviet light cruisers. The thing about them is that, for the most part, they're very squishy, and battleship caliber shells at pretty much any angle don't really give a crap how thick your armor is. And while that's somewhat the case for other cruisers and other nations, the Soviet light cruisers in particular, you just look at them the wrong way, and boom, they're getting citadeled. And you kind of have to strike a nice balance with these things between being aggressive and being passive. And I'm not the most aggressive cruiser player, but I certainly don't mind getting stuck in. But it's a lot easier, too, with the German or an American cruiser, for instance, or even the Japanese, because they start to get some pretty good citadel and belt armors. And while the Chapayev does have a pretty good number for its belt armor, I know it's over 100mm. I don't know what the exact number is off the top of my head, but it just gets citadeled and just takes massive damage. And I guess it has to be something with my playstyle, so while you guys are watching this replay, please tell me if there's anything you thought that I could have done differently. But while the average damage is fine, this certainly is quite the outlier, but nevertheless, it's still going to be a ridiculous game. So, with all that being said, my buddies have moved in towards Objective Bravo, and they're about to cap. We also have a destroyer that's in Objective Charlie, and the enemy team has sent ships up to Alpha, so we're going to certainly get the early lead here in terms of capping and the points. And at this moment, an enemy Fletcher gets spotted at 16.2 kilometers away off the bow. There's an Otago. There's also a Prince Eugen moving in down here towards Charlie, and there will certainly be plenty more ships as well. So I'm going to have my hands full here. However, the majority of the team is heading down to Charlie, so at this moment, I felt pretty good. Getting some really long-range shots at the Fletcher. The one thing about these guns that are so glorious is 950 meters per second coming out of the barrel. These are amongst the fastest shells in the game, and it makes hitting targets at long range pretty easy. I know I did miss the Fletcher on both salvos, but even destroyers are very difficult to hit at that range. But when we're talking about cruisers or battleships, these Soviet cruisers are definitely second to none in being able to hit at long range. And they have certainly a long range as well, 17.2 kilometers on the Chapayev, which is a very healthy range indeed. There's also an enemy Iowa coming down here as well. And as myself, B-Ray, and Spider get ready to head around this island and get stuck into Objective Charlie, we're going to run into some trouble. The score is 339 to 324, and that enemy Fletcher is on perilously low health. I shoot my 2 forward guns out at him, and he's burning, and he is just in a lot of issues, and he gets slammed home by a friendly gearing torpedo to snag the first kill of the game. So, off to a very good start. We'll see how that stays. Looking for long-range shots here at the enemy Iowa, 16.5 kilometers away, and he is moving towards our position. Also the Prince Eugen as well. And I'm going to start to take some fire here. And you're going to see here, even completely angled well against that German Tier 8 premium heavy cruiser, I'm going to start taking some massive amounts of armor-piercing damage to the superstructure. And like I said, this thing holds up very poorly to sustained fire. But even 8-inch guns can absolutely wreck the Chapayev if it hits if the shells hit, for instance, in the bow, if they hit on the bridge, basically anywhere on the ship, and it is rather annoying. The Iowa's first salvo at me misses. I did misjudge his speed quite a bit for those first two salvos, but the third one slams home, and I secure my first fire and first bit of damage of the game. Right there, took a solid hit from the Prinz Eugen. More shells out at the enemy Iowa. My buddy Spider is laying a smokescreen for myself and B-Ray to move into. I did slow down, but unfortunately I'm going to have to get completely inside the smoke cloud to get undetected, so I'm going to continue moving. And you see there, almost 5,000 damage yet again from that enemy Prinz Eugen as I set my second fire on the Iowa. And I've already lost about 10,000, even more than 10,000 hit points, and we're just over 5 minutes into the game and about 2 minutes into the actual combat. So not a good start health-wise for me, and yet again, about 2,000. Take some more shells again. 2,178 damage on the Iowa. Continue to shoot. I did load armor piercing because I thought he was going to turn away to his port side. However, he decides to make the horrible decision to turn into a smoke cloud that is firing high explosive shells. Not from one ship, not from two, but three. So he is certainly going to get lit on fire again. And there we go, my third fire of the game. And this Iowa also has his damage gone out. And he is, yeah, he's going to be screwed here. Yet another fire. I believe he has 3 fires. His stem to stern is just blazing 420. You know what I'm talking about here. And I continue to shoot the high explosive. So up to 36,000 damage already, most of it due to fire. Very good stuff so far. Buddy B-Ray launches torpedoes from his Mogami, and there's also other torpedoes coming from Spider in the Benson, and it looks like a couple of them are going to land home. And at this point, this is what the Chapayev is really good for. I think it is one of the best, if not the best, fire starter in the game. If you have Demolition Expert, you get a 15% fire chance on a reload that is only 8 seconds. And I don't know about you, but that's pretty good. Japanese cruisers obviously have the higher caliber guns, and they also do more HE damage per shell and have an even better fire chance, but the slower reload keeps them from pumping out the sustained DPM, which is where the Chapayev absolutely shines. And as you can see, that Iowa burned down to a crisp 55,000 points of damage, and virtually all of it on that Iowa. So very good stuff. Looking to set yet another fire. My buddy B-Ray gives me a little love tap there. And as the smoke is about to run out, I decide to pull out. And I also noticed that the Otago is about 7 kilometers off my port side. Am I going to get the kill on the Iowa? No, sir, but I do set yet another fire, and I load the armor piercing for the Otago. Now, Soviet armor piercing on these guns, it is very good, but you do have to get to extremely close range, and the Chapayev is certainly a ship that you don't want to be mingling in close range knife fighting with, because it has a horrific rudder shift time, and it also has a horrific turning circle of almost 900 meters. Do land one citadel and multiple other penetrations on the Otago and do about 8,000 damage. Get yet another broadside out, and there we go. More solid damage. 3 more citadels, about 13,000, and that Otago has made a grave mistake. The Prinz Eugen continues to shoot at me, and I'll start to turn to starboard because I'm anticipating these Otago torpedoes. Unfortunately, I loaded high explosive because I didn't think the Otago would continue to move around, but he gets hit by a solid armor piercing several from behind, and my 2 forward guns take out the Japanese cruiser. First kill of the game, 80,000 damage done, and we're just getting warmed up. The scores are 576 to 353. The enemy team has since moved into Objective Bravo, and they're about ready to cap it, and pretty much the entire friendly team is down here at Objective Charlie. So we're in a bit of a pickle. The enemy has cornered us off in one little section of the map, and when you're playing a game mode like Domination, that is not good at all. The only way that we're going to be able to win this is to continue to kill the ships. However, we have killed 3 of the enemy ships, and we've only lost 1 battleship. Looking for shots here on the Prinz Eugen. He's still at full health. Get a full broadside out of high explosive. So you've seen so far the Chapayev, very good fire starter. The armor piercing works at close range. You saw the maneuverability. This thing turns like a freaking brick. But it actually is pretty fast. And generally in World of Warships, the faster your ship is, the longer it is. And due to the length of the ship, the longer, or I shouldn't say the longer, the bigger the turning circle is. So at this point, I don't want to go off chasing a Prinz Eugen that is well out of the fight. So I'm now going to turn around and start to get stuck in on the enemy ships that are in Bravo. And there's a whole glutton. I see an Otago. There's actually a second Otago. There's a Bismarck. There's an Amagi over there. There's a Mikhail Kutuzov that is popping up in and out of his smoke. So we have certainly still plenty more to deal with. Now, it's at this point of the game that I want you guys to really pay attention to and tell me if there's anything you thought I could have done differently, or if there's anything you thought that us 3 in the division as a whole could have done differently. Obviously, the enemy team has the majority of their forces here in Bravo, and it's at a point now where we just got to start killing ships as fast as possible. Take a couple hits from behind from the Prinz Eugen, but now I am out of range of his guns, and I continue to shoot the high explosive. And even at these ranges, the armor piercing does have pretty decent penetration, but you'd much rather shoot the high explosive to try and set more fires. Another salvo out, and I decide to start targeting the Bismarck. He is backing up and he is on fire, so I feel that at this point this would be a glorious opportunity to be able to start really burning this guy down. And as I say that, I secure fire number 7 of the game, and if that Bismarck hasn't used his damage con, he's going to need to right now, and yes sir, he does. A double fire from that salvo, up to 9 fires right now, and I continue to pepper him with the high explosive. He is pretty much stopped, moving just slightly, and I spot a gearing at 400 now, 1800 health at 8.4 kilometers. Unfortunately for me, I shoot just a bit too far as he gets his engines knocked out. I only managed to land a couple shells. He is on perilously low health, and I'm like, Spider, you can finish the kill. I'm going to start engaging other targets. So I switch my fire back to the Bismarck, and I set another fire, this one on one of the Otagos, and as that gearing gets ready to go around the corner, Spider is about ready to take him out. So I continue to shoot now at the Bismarck. There we go, the shell's flying in on the gearing, and any second now, he's going to get taken out. There we go, Spider gets the kill. Now that Bismarck uses damage con, so I'm going to continue to shoot. You can see his superstructure really has not been raked too much by any sort of shells, so I continue to shoot. Set fire number 1. Shells landed near the rear of the ship, about 1,400 points of damage. Shoot yet another broadside out, over 100,000 damage, just cracked. I go out of detection. Shells landing on the Bismarck. There we go. Fire number 2, do over 3,500 damage, and now that Bismarck is going to be burning for quite a long time. 11 kilometers away as another salvo hits. Now at this point, score 669 to 551. The enemy team has lost 2 ships, and we've lost 2 ships. The enemy team has only lost 4. But I now got to get more shots on more ships. And as you can see, the majority of the enemy team still has the bulk of their hit points left. So we really got to start killing these things rather fast. And if there's one thing that Chapayev just does not do, it is kill ships really quickly. Unless you come across a cruiser at point-blank range and using armor piercing. This thing, like I said, is a really good fire starter, as I set yet another fire number 13 in the game. And you're going to see here this armor piercing salvo on the Turpets, less than 10 kilometers away. I hit a solid amount of the shells, and most of them fail to penetrate, only do 1,420. So even at 10 kilometers, less than 10 kilometers, I just did not get the kind of armor piercing damage that you would have with, 203 millimeter main guns. I pick up the Witherer up to 138,000 points of damage, and as I swing back around, I'm at about a third hit points, and I'm going to try to engage the Mikhail Kutuzov as my friendly Turpets shoots high explosive. Oh well, some things you cannot teach. You can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. 1,000 health left on the Kutuzov. High explosive salvo out. Will I be able to snag the kill? And yet again, you're going to see here that when a target has been raked with fire, 3 shells fail to penetrate. 1 damaging shell hit, 300 damage, and somebody else, Mark Light in his North Carolina, takes him out. Scores 692 to 637. The enemy team has lost 5 ships. We've lost 3. And they're slowly bringing the scores closer. And this is not good. Still got to try and finish these ships off. I'm looking to get in the smoke screen that my buddy Spider left over here for me. Looking for now long-range shots here on the enemy Otago, Full broadside out. There we go. And, yeah, it's really difficult to get kills with this thing. It just takes so long to kill. And I know I already said it, but just watching this replay again, it's just really frustrating to light ships on fire and take so much of their hit points away and get nothing in return. You see, there are only 3,400 damage on that enemy Otago. Only managed to get 3 penetrating hits, 1 overpen, but the majority failed to penetrate or bounced. Now I'm changing my fire here to the enemy Bismarck, who lost quite a bit of hit points, but not as much as I would have hoped for. Land a solid 5,000 damage high explosive salvo. Somehow his superstructure has not burnt to a crisp yet, so I'm still going to be able to land quite a few fires here. And, well, not on that salvo, of course. Not when I mention it. More salvos out downrange at the Bismarck. Friendly North Carolina gets the kill on the enemy Turpets. There we go. Fire number 14 on the Bismarck. 721 to 690 is the score. Unfortunately, the Otago with the secondaries takes out Spider with his secondary. So now we're losing the game 682 to 732. 153,000 points of damage. Gets some armor piercing at the Otago, and yet again, 8 kilometers away, he just starts to turn in and only do 2,500 points of damage. Like I said, you really got to get to suicide range with this armor piercing to be able to do any significant damage. And I have to kite away. I cannot push into Objective Bravo. There are too many ships in there. There are too many ships that would be able to focus fire and just absolutely obliterate me. The Bismarck continues to burn 161,000 points of damage, score 7 hits on the enemy Otago. He's at 7,000 health, but at this point, I really need other people to start getting these kills. There's only so much that I can do with the high explosive. Land yet another fire number 15 and 16 on a single salvo there. on the enemy Bismarck, take some shells off of my starboard side from the Prinz Eugen, who's 16 kilometers away, and I do not take any damage. The Bismarck looks like he's backing up, so I'm going to continue to shoot my rear guns at him. And the Atago's on 7,000 health. The enemy team's ships are now at lower health than they certainly were before. But again, if you're not getting fires, and if they have their damage con up and they're smart about it, it just, like I said, it takes so long to kill on this thing that this is where a lot of frustration has come for me. I'm just not able to secure kills. Land fire number 17 with over 300 shell hits. Earn the high caliber. The Bismarck continues to burn, and I'm up to 174,000 points of damage. Looking for more shots on him to get yet another or 2 fires burning. But I do have a problem now of this enemy Atago that's moving off to my port side. And also that Prinz Eugen is slowly starting to close the distance, and they are certainly going to be coming after me. Yet another fire on the Bismarck, fire number 18. Just cracked 180,000 damage. Loading armor piercing here for this Atago. He's at 11.3 kilometers away. Reloaded. Shots out. Let's see what this armor piercing salvo does here. Again, at range, it just doesn't do as much as you'd think. Right there, solid hits along the waterline. Only 6,000 damage. Looking for more shots of armor piercing at him. Looks like they're going to land just at the front of the bow. Right there, only 2,000 damage, 3 overpens, 2 penetrating, and 1 ricochet. Shoot a high explosive at him because I figured that he was going to continue to turn in, but since he has so many hit points, he can afford to stay broadside, and since this thing doesn't have the raw power on its AP shell, as again, say a German, American, or a Japanese cruiser does, it's not going to be able to outright nuke him. I do manage 3 citadels and 13,000 damage, but I just am not able to obliterate him. Land yet another citadel for just about 5,000 points of damage, up to 225,000 points of damage. Get the high explosive here on the Bismarck. His secondaries open up on me. I start to turn to starboard, land yet another fire on him. Shoot my rear turrets out. Trying to dodge his shells, doing a decent job of that, but I'm still within range of his secondaries. He pops his repair party to try and keep his hit points going. I get lit on fire by his secondaries, continue to pepper his superstructure. I'm trying to secure this kill, but at this point, the game is pretty much lost. The enemy team has 959 points. We only have 707. We only have 5 ships left. They have 5 ships, but they've just had those caps for the entire time. Shoot an armor-piercing salvo at the Atago, and right as I turn to broadside, a couple shells from the Bismarck over-penetrate. He uses his damage con up to 238,000 points of damage, and then the Prinz Eugen shells are coming in from 10 kilometers away, and here is my demise. Sad face. Alrighty, guys, taking a look now at the post-battle results. 424,000 credits received, 2,675 total XP. Witherer and high caliber, 240,675 damage done, 361 target hits, 1 ship destroyed, the enemy Atago, 21 fires set, 8 citadels, 1 assisted base capture. Taking a look at the team scores, 1,783 base XP in a defeat. I was actually the MVP on the losing team. The enemy Atago, Sinzi, got 728 base XP. So you can see there, so much damage done, so many fires set, and I just wasn't able to finish off kills, not because I wasn't targeting the right ships, not because I wasn't using the right ammo. It just takes so long in this thing, and it's just annoying. I've been having quite a hard time in this ship. I hope you guys enjoyed the replay, however. The damage was absolutely incredible, but that certainly was a diamond in the rough for me. Most of the other games in the Chappie thus far have been rather disappointing. Other than that, Sneaky Snake here for Brothers in Arms World of Warships. Please like, subscribe, comment on the video. All of it is appreciated. We hope you guys enjoy this replay. Sneaky Snake for Brothers in Arms World of Warships signing off. Have a great day.